right, everyone. This is the mold I have a love-hate relationship with, and if you're an Epic Bait Molds fanboy, you might want to turn away or at least hear me out on this one. I'm talking about the Epic Bait Molds Marlin Baits collaboration on the 1.7-inch Preybait. Makes a 1.7-inch swim bait without the head. Now, the unique thing about this is that none of you have ever seen that before. That allows the bait to end up as a dual laminate. It shoots the plastic in there, spins it, and then creates your dual. And it does that with the included bar. So once it's clamped together, then you've got that going on. So right off the bat, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, the price. It's a small mold. It's only 10 cavities. $240. I cringed when I bought this, but I wanted it so bad after watching it developed and watching it on Marlin Baits. In hindsight, $240 for a mold this small, that is a lot of money. I understand there's machining that goes into it. I understand that it's got something that's, cutting edge and not been done before. But $240 to me, that's going to drop, how I score everything. Scale of, 0 to 10. Because of that price, I give it 4 points on the cost. Now, let's move on to the design. Again, very creative to get the bait to laminate in this direction. In most cases, you would think, well, why didn't they laminate the bait like this, right? Or set it up so you could shoot that right through. Well, the reason being, I believe, I'm not a machinist or anything, but I think that tail is the reason. I don't know of a way you could machine it so that that tail would still be allowable with that, paddle or boot tail actually. There's just that little nub there, I think, that causes all the issues with trying to get it to shoot this way instead of this way, which is why they had to come up with this. I'll be honest with you, when the mold works, and I'll get to that, when it works, it's beautiful. It works great. It's a beautiful bait. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's a beautiful bait. It's got great action. Something to think about, though, is when I first got it, I had a less than quality injector, if you know what I mean. The quality wasn't quite there. So I talked to Jason about it, and he actually, let me find it here. Here's what was going on. When I was using the dual, this is a bait tackle one, or bass tackle, sorry. But here's what was going on. I would have this in place, and this would butt up against it so that my mold was actually, or my dual injector block was not sitting properly, and I was connecting on it every time. So with that, he ended up sending me this to solve the solution, or the problem. Actually, it was the solution to the problem. Sorry, not enough coffee yet. So then you can see there, it would give me enough room if I had a different dual injector block of any sort. Since I got rid of that, I have gotten to go back to this. So just to forewarn you, if you have quality in your injector, you may actually need this instead. That being said, I don't need it anymore. I'll put it in there. So as far as the design on this, very creative, very innovative. But it's a knockoff of something that they've already done. So there wasn't a whole lot of creativity put into it, with the exception of making it shoot a laminate, because it was already done in the 5.6 inch, the 4.1 inch, and I think I'm not sure if the 3 came out before this one or not. Either way, we'll be reviewing all those. So on this, I'll give it a 7. It's, you know, it's different. You're not going to find it everywhere. It's got a great design, different design. It's got, you know, it's got the little fin on the top, little fin on the bottom, and of course you got that little trash tail, so to speak, on the back end of it. So, like I say, a 7. As far as versatility, for me, I like to be able to do different things with the bait. So first of all, it does shoot singles. Duh. You can just take that out and shoot singles. Here's an example of it, but at the same time, we're going to come back to this. I want you to look real closely. Do you see what I'm seeing there? We'll get back to that. Does it shoot doubles? Of course, that's what it was meant for. In fact, I'm going to show you a quick video here of... Hold up. Wait a minute. I just remembered something in post-production. This has to do with the design. It's missing something that I really like on molds that this one doesn't have, and that's any sort of way to screw it down, use wing nuts, bolts, whatever you want to call it, to hold the bait together. When I've asked about this in the past, why Epic doesn't do it, they told me because they feel that most people don't use them and that this is just a lot easier to clamp them on their own. Well, I'll be honest on you on this one. Give us the option. Give us the option to take that off. Angling AI does it. Bait or Bass Tackle does it. They all have that option. Give us that option. Put something there where we can hold it down in place. I don't want to have 500 clamps running around or a big air vise. So that, I'm not going to change any points on it because this is post-production. But that's another big deal. That, to me, you really, really do need some sort of wing nuts or way to hold the mold together. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Okay, let's see what we got for temps. They've been sitting a little bit. I am down to 307. And yes, I stir them to get a number. This one's still 308. So you know what? Close enough. That's very close. It's also pretty cool by most standards as far as shooting molds, but you'll see that it's really required. This one you get it just low as can go. Everything's warmed up, set up, ready to go. So draw up a little bit. Don't need too much for this mold. Set it in place. Give it a burp. Slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's how slow you have to shoot this thing. And even then, I'm going to let those sprues drain down on the dual block there, because it will drink a little bit. Now, if you noticed, I'm going to actually move you around here a little bit. Very odd contraption that I have set up here. Let me explain it. The reason I have this set up like it is so that's pinned in place. So when I set that on there, it is not going to move. And it is a perfect, absolutely perfect angle to shoot that bait. It's not going to be off a little bit, which would cause the colors to blend as much. Also, don't apply pressure to this. Don't push down. Very soft, very gentle is the way you need to shoot this bait to get anything to turn out. Okay, it's been about a minute, so let's see what the demold looks like on this. Take apart my unusual cluster of clamps. And that's what we got. I set everything up almost as perfect as I could. Let me take these out. As perfect as I could. Good laminate. Not bad. But not perfect. See how there's blending that still takes place throughout the bait. So I mean, it's not, see that one there? That's really off. And then it just gets worse as it goes down the line. Very, very difficult bait to get a perfect lateral or a perfect lamination line on. Now, looking at it, I want to see, yep, telltale dents. This thing shot really cold. I took it out after only a minute. There's a dent there. That one's okay. That one's okay. The denting is so random on this. I mean, honestly, this is better than what they normally turn out. This actually, there's a dent there. It just, I don't know. And I always look to make sure the tails fill, because sometimes the tails will not fill all the way. They'll leave two little marks on the bottom, and I can show you that if I haven't already. So these all actually filled out really well. But again, very cold, very slow. And you know, these are some of the best results I've actually ever gotten. I mean, I really, really dialed it in for this one, just for the video, so that I wasn't making it look bad or anything like that. So that's what we're looking at. Okay, does it shoot doubles? Yes. Here you go. I mean, I'm going to show you here in a second me actually shooting these, so you get an idea of how the mold works and how it looks. So that's your doubles. Yes, it does do it. Does it do triples? Hell no. Now I know there's a guy out there that's made a video. Look, I triple shot the 1.7 inch. Sorry, bro. No, you didn't. Just because you sucked up 3 colors of plastic and shot it through a triple injector does not mean you triple injected this bait. It's impossible. Let me show you. If you look here on the runner, okay, there's our orange, purple, and Morning Dawn coming through there perfectly, right? Look what goes on with the bait. We got orange, Morning Dawn, orange. Where's the purple? There's some purple there, Morning Dawn. It doesn't do it. Look at the tail. The bait is not designed to triple inject, so don't try. Don't say you did it, because you didn't. It's impossible to do just because of the nature of the beast. To do this, I took the plate out, the center plate here, so that it would get the full effect. Which you can actually shoot this as a dual, as a double, without this in, if you want to blend the colors more. That does work. But triples, nah, you didn't shoot triples. Sorry. Nobody's shooting triples with this. If you find a way to shoot triples with it, I'd love to see it done. I'd love to know myself, because hey, a triples would be cool in this, but you're not doing it. Because of that, since there's no core shots or anything else going on that, versatility, there's no core, you can't triple, there's no tail molds to it. Some people will still cut them off and then stick them in there, but it doesn't hold very well. It's too small of an area to try and get a really good heat connection between the tail molds. You would have to have something creative where there's some sort of a ball in the tail that you can inject through. So for that, not a bad score. I'm giving it a 7. As far as moving on to the use, if you haven't already been able to tell, this is extremely difficult to use. This, I hate shooting this mold. I hate it, hate it, hate it. But I love what comes out of it when it does work. You have to have everything so perfect to get this thing to work. But sometimes, no matter, I've had this mold over 2 years. I use it a lot, trying to perfect it. But no matter what I've done with temperature, speed, the type of plastic, it dents on quite a few of the baits, more often than not. And where it dents, always is the same spot. Look at that. Not always the same, I shouldn't say that. Big old dent there. When I shot these singles, every one of them came out with either a dent there, or it will dent down here, or that tail. I don't have any examples of it, but there'll be notches in the tail. Now, when I get these defects, I throw them through, remelt them, and reshoot. But if you're doing duels, after a while, you're tossing out a lot of baits or remelting a lot of baits that maybe you don't need to. For $240, no matter what you do, that shouldn't be happening. I've even gone so far as to try and use a file to open up the vents a little more on this thing, and even then, completely unsuccessful. If you're a beginner, stay away from this. I'm giving it a 4 on the score as far as use. It's not practical. In fact, why would you want that when you could have this? I'm going to be reviewing this one here shortly, but you got a 1.7 versus the 2.3. This thing is one of my favorites. Look at that. That triple. I mean, no bumps, no dents, nothing wrong. Absolutely flawless. When I review this, it's going to be hard not to give this one a score of 10 overall, but we'll get back to that. Also, keep in mind, small baits catch small fish. Now, as far as the peel, getting to that, it's a great bait when it produces. When it works correctly, it is stellar. I mean, it's really hard to beat. As far as a small, tiny, boot-tailed bait, most baits, just use the stinger tails, the tiny little, little tails at the end with no boot or anything on it to wiggle around and do their thing. That's great. Those work. But if you want something to actually swim with, and on the jig up and down, that tail flutters every time, it's great. Everybody desires this design, mostly because I think Marling. I mean, anything Marling puts his name on seems to sell really well, with the exception of a few other baits, or molds. But it's it works. It's the nice thing about it is you use a 1/32 to 1/8 jig head, but it honestly works best with the Do It Molds bat jig. Let me go ahead and get a couple of jigs and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so the bat jig. This is what it looks like. Made by Do It Molds. I make these, I sell these. For some reason, people, I don't know, they don't sell, but if people only knew, I mean, this thing with a 1.7, yeah. Okay, so I went a little deep on that. But if you can imagine, if you will, that I hooked that properly, which I didn't here. You know what? That's bugging me. Let's try and redo that. It's not like this bait's not going to go anywhere. There we go. That's just a perfect matchup in my opinion. Real close to it. Another option is that I make is the Do It Diner Shider. And you can see there, it matches up extremely well. This has been a killer for me. I mean, I have caught probably 10 species of fish. I mean, we're talking crappie, bluegill, of course, or any of the sunfish family, largemouth, smallmouth, rock bass, perch. What else have I caught on this thing? White bass, rainbow trout. It produces. It really does. Or you can rig it, the cheap way, which not a problem either, is as intended with just the ball jig, and that works really well also. So as far as appeal, because there are a few different ways to rig that up and how people want it, and it's a marling baits, I'm going to actually give it a 10. There is a high appeal for this, and in fact, I see people all the time looking for it on forums used because they don't want to pay that $240 price. People still want this mold. It is, probably one of their best sellers, I'm betting. But in the end, when we tally everything up and we actually look at it and we give it a score and average everything out, I'm giving it a 6.4. I mean, by the time you do all the math, 6.4. Is it worth the money? No. I'm sorry, Epic. Sorry to all you fanboys out there, but I think you can see why I'm saying this is not worth it. Would this be worth it if you could get it for $150 or used for $150? Might be pushing it, but grab it if you can at that price. If you're going to pay any more than $150 for this used, no. If you think you're going to pay for it brand new, $240 at the time of filming, no, not worth it. Not when you can do the 2.3 and get a much better bait with much better versatility. So for now, I'm going to leave that as it is. You guys can go ahead and throw your hatred at me. But I think people like myself that have bought this mold have to stop trying to fool themselves and convince themselves they got a good deal or that they love it as much as they do, because it's not a perfect mold. It's not. With that, I'll take the heat. Go ahead, bring it. This is just my personal opinion. Again, I'm going to keep doing all the molds that I own and give you an honest review on them, just like I have this one. And you know what? Don't subscribe. I'm not your dad. I can't tell you what to do, but good luck on the fishing, guys.